Okay, so what if your immune system isn't actually the problem? What if it's not broken? What if it's actually responding? So today I'm going to walk you through four root causes that integrative health practitioners like me look at when supporting autoimmune conditions. I'm also going to share a simple at-home lab test that can give you some clues about your thyroid, so stay with me. I'm Bria Sheeran Estep, board certified integrative health practitioner, and I help people get their health and body back holistically by looking for the why, not just the what. So, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I try and share evidence informed wellness strategies, nutrition tips, and integrative health education so you can take control of your health naturally. Quick note before we dive in, this is for educational purposes only. It's not meant to diagnose, cure, or treat disease or replace your medical care. If you have an autoimmune condition, keep working with your provider before making any changes. So, let's talk. Point number one. Let's start at the beginning. What is autoimmune disease? So, autoimmune disease happens when your immune system starts attacking its own tissues instead of protecting them. Depending on where the attack is happening, it can show up as rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, there we go, Hashimoto's, Crohn's disease, psoriasis, vitiligo, um, scleroderma, fibromyalgia, so many more. And conventional medicine focuses on calming the immune system with response with medication. And for a lot of people, that's genuinely important. But integrative health asks a different question. Why did the immune system become so dysregulated in the first place? So that's where the root cause work comes in. So if you've been told that your labs are normal, but you don't feel normal, you don't feel like yourself, drop a comment below. That was definitely my story, and I want you to know that you're not alone in that. That's why I got into the integrative health space. I personally gained 30 pounds in less than 3 months, doing all of the right stuff. I was working out 6 days a week, doing cardio and weights. I was eating no sugar. I was eating low carb. Again, I owned a gym. I was doing all of the right things. And yeah, nobody could, and my blood work was fine. Nobody could figure out what was going on, but I was told just to eat more and or eat less and work out more. But I was like, no, I'm starving and I'm exhausted. Like everything that I was doing before didn't work. So again, that's why I got into the integrative health space. There's my dog, my assistant. And that's why I do what I do, running at-home functional medicine lab tests that changed my life. I've got, tons of people that could share the same stories. Check out my testimonials page, blah, 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 blah. But I just want you to know that if that's you, and this is resonating, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. But I would love to be able to help you however I can. But if there's one thing I can do, I just want to provide hope that you too can heal holistically like I did and so many of my clients. So let's talk a little bit more about root causes of autoimmune. So normally autoimmune spans from one of four things. Normally it's a combination, normally of all of them, because one leads to another, leads to another. So root cause number one is low stomach acid. This is one that gets overlooked really constantly. Most people assume that digestive issues means too much stomach acid, but a lot of the times it's the opposite. So let's talk a little bit more about this. If you trying to watch my words carefully. If people are on a PPI, proton pump inhibitor, a lot of times their medical professionals or they don't read the labels and the little brochure that comes in, but those actually aren't supposed to be taken long term in most cases. Of course, that's up to your medical provider. I legally have to say that, but any type of medication, but definitely good to read that label. Mostly don't take longer than 2 weeks because it actually lowers your stomach acid. So your stomach acid can't break down protein properly, and it can affect other things like, you aren't able to absorb key nutrients, and then it can't kill off harmful bacteria, and it just doesn't support that healthy digestion overall. So I used to be the queen of Tums, and what I was doing was not giving my body, allowing it to produce enough stomach acid. So a lot of the times what we think is high stomach acid is actually low stomach acid. So when that happens and protein isn't fully broken down, larger fragments can make their way into our intestines, and that can trigger an immune response, especially if intestinal permeability is already present. So some signs that might suggest low stomach acid is feeling really full after eating a meal, bloating, excessive burping, constipation, and undigested food in stools, heartburn after meals, and pale or floating stools. So that's your body talking. These symptoms don't automatically mean that it's low stomach acid, but it's definitely worth bringing up with your medical professional or somebody like me, an integrative health practitioner, naturopath, somebody like that. Definitely worth bringing up in conversation. So that leads us to root cause number two, leaky gut and food sensitivity. So next up, what we want to talk about is the intestinal permeability, or what most people call leaky gut. So your intestinal lining is supposed to be selective. It lets nutrients through, but it's supposed to keep other stuff out. But when that barrier gets compromised, and that can be from so many different things. It can be from foods that we eat that we're sensitive to. It can be, which we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it can be from, Tylenol. It can be from alcohol. It can be from, any type of medication. It can be from toxic water. It can be from a toxic environment. It can be from so many things. But when that barrier gets compromised, things can slip in through into your bloodstream that don't belong there, that can keep your immune system in a constant state of activation because it's trying to fight off what's not supposed to be there. Again, your body's not broken. And your food sensitivities can add fuel to that fire. So, unlike food allergies, these are sneaky. So, food sensitivities, and this is one test that I also do with clients, is a IgG food sensitivity test. So your allergies are going to be more like that anaphylaxis, hives. Like an allergy is more immediate than a sensitivity. So a sensitivity can show up from 24 to 72 hours after you eat a food. So it's really hard to trace, especially if it's in something. I know a lot of times, I mean, I eat pretty much the same thing most of the time, but, if I'm on vacation or something like that and not a normal, I couldn't tell you what I ate, a day ago, let alone 72 hours ago. And especially with like, different foods, in recipes and stuff like that, it's really hard to trace. That's why I love that lab. But of course, there's elimination diets and all that. But I always say, don't just guess, test. So love that food sensitivity lab. Super easy at home. A blood spot card test, so no need for a lab draw or anything like that. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Definitely changed my life. There were so many healthy foods. Like for me, eggs that I was like, wait a second, I'm sensitive to these. I had no idea they're a health food. And almonds and peanut butter. I was like, wait a second, these are a health food. So just because it's a health food doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy for you. And there's a lot we can do to repair that leaky gut wall and that intestinal permeability and strengthen that gut back up, which I've done, and life is good. I can eat eggs now, not every single day, but now that my body has my intestinal permeability is no longer there and my intestines are nice and strong, then my body is more resilient. So again, some symptoms that show up with leaky gut is chronic fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, skin issues, bloating or IBS symptoms, headaches or migraines, reoccurring sinus issues. This was big for me. The dairy always got my sinuses. Mood shifts. A lot of people don't know that. And unexplained inflammation. And again, not everybody reacts to the same foods, and even people in the same families don't react to the same foods. That's why an elimination diet or professionally guided testing is way more helpful than, again, just guessing. Don't guess, test. So, a client that I worked with, I'm gonna, well, I'll go ahead and share her name. She's awesome. So I worked with a client of mine, Dana, who, when we ran her food sensitivity test, we were surprised to see all of the stuff that we found that was healthy food that she was eating that her body just didn't agree with. And we say in natural health, genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. So yes, some of this is genetically susceptible, but just because and that's how things are displayed with autoimmune or whatever it may be. And some people may be more prone to like heart disease in the family and all of that. But genetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. So we want to do what we can with our lifestyle so the bomb doesn't go off and we deal with these autoimmune that we may be genetically susceptible to. So And again, certain people may be more susceptible to other things and they may display differently than other people. Again, that's why it's so important, especially if you're eating healthy foods and you're like, wait a second, something's not right here. Again, that was my story. So, another root cause of autoimmune is also thyroid function. So, your thyroid influences nearly every cell in your body. So, for me, dealing with thyroid issues, it was a nightmare. Yeah, it was mentally, physically, and emotionally really, really, really rough. I mean, like, yes, the weight gain and I owned a gym. I felt like an imposter. I'm telling all of these people what to do, and they're paying me for my advice, but then the scale kept climbing up for me. So, like, yes, there was that side, but it was energy, metabolism, body temperature, hormone balance, brain function, digestion, and for me, that mental side was really, 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 really hard too. So if you are there, huge, huge, huge hugs to you. And one thing is that you can have thyroid symptoms even when your standard labs look normal. So that's because your body has to convert T4 into the active form of T3, and that conversion can break down for a lot of reasons. And our body naturally produces a little bit of T4, but most of it has to come from that T3. And then we'll see things like TSH. And on a TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, the higher is actually not better. A lot of people think that it is, but in conventional medicine, versus integrative health, functional medicine, naturopathy, all of that, we look for the optimal range, not necessarily the, range that conventional medicine uses that's like, okay, you are sick enough or you're off enough or whatever it may be for medication. We're looking at things to optimize your results so you don't have those symptoms, and deal with them before they get to be huge problems. So, those ranges do look different for us in integrative health. And for me, that was the thing too. Like my labs were normal, but if you looked through integrative health, they were not optimal. So, and I was already having symptoms before they were completely, completely out of range. And I'm sure they probably later went out of range. But by the time that I found integrative health, but so thankful that I did. And I was able to, of course, get them back in range and feel much, much, much better today, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So, many practitioners, we look just beyond those standard ranges. Like we looked at the symptoms and additional markers that show more of the full picture. So some of those symptoms that may point to low thyroid function are fatigue, cold hands and cold feet, unexplained weight gain, hi me, dry skin, constipation, hair loss, that was a big one for me, depression, and brain fog. So one tool that some practitioners use is basal body temperature, and we do that over several mornings. So it's not necessarily a diagnostic test on its own, but a consistently low reading can be a useful piece of information to bring along to your practitioner. And if you're like, I wonder if that can be me, that's definitely, definitely where I would start, and tells us sometimes it can be more insightful than doing labs, depending on when you're doing labs and the time and how far it takes to get to the labs and the different lab regions, like all of the different things. So I love using that tool with clients and myself as well. That was super beneficial to me. So next we want to talk about supporting the whole body. So if you're trying to support your health with an autoimmune condition, the goal isn't necessarily to boost immunity. It's to help your immune system work the way that it's supposed to. Again, your body's not broken. It's trying to tell you something. This usually means looking at digestion and looking at the gut barrier integrity and food triggers, those food sensitivities, thyroid health, stress, sleep, nutrient deficiencies, anti-inflammatory nutrition, and working with a qualified practitioner. It would have saved me so much time and money in the long run, if I was able to work with someone. So again, that's why I do what I do. So some supplements like omega-3s and certain botanicals have been studied for immune modulation and inflammation, but supplementation should always be individualized, especially if you're on any type of medication or managing a diagnosis. So there's not really like a one-size-fits-all protocol here, and just sharing this on this video here, I really am doing you a disservice. The work is finding your specific root causes, your specific toxicities to eliminate, and your specific deficiencies to replace, to bring your body back to a state of equilibrium where it can and where it will heal itself. So, again, those four main root causes of autoimmune are food sensitivities, and they are thyroid, and they are leaky gut intestinal permeability, as well as, did I say thyroid? Did I say thyroid? Yeah. So right there, all of those coming together. Did I say all of them? I think I did. Yeah. Where's my notes? Let me go back to my notes. Thyroid, we said, yeah, leaky gut, food sensitivity, and low stomach acid. I was like, I know I'm forgetting one. What am I forgetting? It's literally right there in my notes. Okay. So, if you've been struggling with autoimmune, here's what I want you to hold on to. Again, a diagnosis isn't what's happening to you, and it always doesn't tell you why. But the digestion, the gut health, the food sensitivities, the low thyroid, the stomach acid, the stress, the nutrition, they all come together and tell us something. And they're pieces of a puzzle that can help you work towards better health along with your practitioner, which again, I can't recommend enough. And even as a practitioner myself, I still have practitioners on my team because I need those outside eyes. You can't see the forest for the trees. So I can't say enough. Have a support system. Wherever possible, in your home with family and friends as well, but also through practitioners that have been through this themselves or with clients. So hopefully that was helpful, explaining some of the root causes of autoimmune. Again, the low stomach acid, the thyroid, the leaky gut, and food sensitivities. So if you like it, make sure to share it and subscribe. And I want to hear from you. Which one of these four root causes surprised you the most? Make sure to leave it in the comments. And if you're ready to take a root cause approach to your health, the resources are linked in the description. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon.